Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're not just skimming the surface. We're really getting into the thick of it, exploring these intense excerpts from Sidney Sheldon's Rage of Angels.
That's right. We've got some compelling source material here, focusing on one central character, Jennifer Parker, and it's more than just a legal drama.
Oh, definitely. It pulls in organized crime, high-stakes politics, and some really, really tough personal choices she has to make.
Our goal here is to unpack all that. We'll look at the key players, the moments that change everything, and, try to understand the big ideas driving this whole story.
Exactly. Think of it as getting to the heart of Jennifer Parker's pretty wild ride, all the highs and lows laid out in these sources.
Okay, so let's pinpoint where the source material drops us in. The trouble really kicks off for Jennifer Parker in a very specific spot, New York City, September 4th, 1969.
Right. And the scene is a courtroom. It's high stakes. You've got Michael Moretti. He's the son-in-law of this major mafia figure, Antonio Grinelli, and he's basically being groomed for the top job.
And facing him is District Attorney De Silva. He's been chasing Moretti for 3 years, trying to get a conviction.
And De Silva thinks he finally has his chance with this witness, Camilla Stella.
Yeah, Steele used to work for Moretti, saw him kill 2 guys. But he's reluctant, only testifying because of a plea deal. He's clearly scared.
And this is where Jennifer Parker, who's barely been in New York, like 72 hours, gets pulled in. De Silva hands her an envelope.
The instruction seems innocent enough on the surface, right? Give it to Stella just to refresh his memory about some dates.
But the source makes it clear De Silva's worried about Moretti's lawyer, Thomas Colfax. So this refreshing memory thing, it feels shady immediately.
It really does. It suggests that even the good guys might be bending the rules here, and boom, the consequences are instant. Chaos in the courtroom.
Alarm bells going off, people panicking, Moretti might escape. De Silva looks absolutely wrecked.
And Jennifer, her life just completely craters. Right then and there.
Kicked off the DA's staff, facing disbarment. Suddenly she's poisoned in the legal world. Can't find work anywhere.
Yeah, the source shows her scrambling, reduced to serving subpoenas for $12.50 plus mileage, working for this guy, Ken Bailey. It's a massive fall.
This is also where Adam Warner comes in. He gets assigned the hatchet man job to investigate Jennifer for the DA's office.
But what's interesting is he starts off skeptical, expecting to nail her.
Right. But as he talks to her old professors, her landlady, people who knew her, he starts having doubts.
Her story just doesn't fit the profile of someone helping a mobster escape, it seems. Genuine, plausible.
So he meets her, takes her to dinner. She tells him about the envelope, how it all went down.
And crucially, she tells him she honestly can't remember who gave it to her. That detail seems to convince Adam, at least for the moment, that she might actually be innocent of intentionally helping Moretti. It's a key turning point for him.
So basically shut out by the mainstream legal world, Jennifer has to carve her own path. And it's not glamorous at first.
Not at all. The sources paint a picture of a pretty dreary office. She's still serving papers, often leaning on Ken Bailey.
Ken Bailey is such a great character here. He seems cynical, maybe a bit lonely, but underneath he's sharp, and he becomes this really loyal friend to her.
Absolutely, a real lifeline. The source hints at his own complicated life, too, that mention of a young blonde man. It adds this layer of mystery to him.
And then there's her neighbor, Otto Wenzel. Kind guy, happily married.
Yeah, and the source gives us that brilliant little detail, Otto bringing over his wife's terrible cooking, specifically soggy stuffed cabbage.
Ah, yes. It makes her isolation feel really real, doesn't it? Those little human touches.
They do, but they also highlight Jennifer's sheer grit. She doesn't just give up. We see her doing bold things like summons herself on this powerful guy, William Carlisle.
And she's hitting night court at 3 in the morning, taking cases for broke clients like Clarence Connery.
Yeah, she jokes about it keeping her off the streets, but she's learning the ropes, the arcane jargon, as the source puts it. She's fighting.
Father Ryan also helps out, bringing her pro bono work, connecting her with people who really need representation.
And that leads to this really pivotal, risky case. Abraham Wilson. He's doing life for murder.
The assistant warden, Howard Patterson, gives Jennifer this rundown of Wilson's history, like criminal since age 11. It's brutal.
Well, when Jennifer talks to Wilson, he claims self-defense, says the other guy had a knife.
What's fascinating is how the source shows Jennifer's first reaction. She doesn't believe him. She instinctively dislikes him, judges him based on his record.
Exactly. But then she catches herself. She forces herself back to that core principle. Everyone deserves a trial, even someone like Wilson. It shows her wrestling with her own biases versus her legal ideals.
And it's a huge risk. Ken Bailey flat out tells her not to take it, calls it a no-win case.
Especially since De Silva's prosecuting the guy who ruined her. Ken's worried it'll just sink her again.
But she's stubborn, Jennifer insists. A fair trial is a fair trial. That determination really defines her here. Okay, so she takes the Wilson case, and that trial really puts her commitment to the test. Some defining moments in the courtroom here.
Yeah, it's tough right from the start. The judge, Lawrence Waldman, the same guy who tried to get her disbarred. Talk about pressure.
And Wilson himself is resigned, fatalistic, thinks the trial's just for show, that he's already toast.
The atmosphere is against her. Jennifer feels the jury is already decided, just wants it over with, and De Silva pulls this clever, nasty trick.
Right, he has the clean-cut court clerk stand next to Wilson, who's obviously rougher looking.
And then De Silva just whispers self-defense to the jury. Planting that seed of doubt based purely on appearance, it's brutal.
But Jennifer fights back unconventionally. She calls Warden Patterson to the stand.
And introduces the goodie box.
Yeah, this collection of homemade prison weapons. Shivs, knives, that kind of thing.
Her point is to show the jury the incredibly violent world Wilson had to survive in every day, to give context to his claim of self-defense.
De Silva goes ballistic, of course. Objects like crazy. Wilson testifies, admits the killing, but sticks to his self-defense story.
And Judge Waldman isn't happy. He chews Jennifer out for turning his courtroom into a sideshow.
After the trial, we see her letting off steam, drinking with Ken, furious about De Silva. It clearly took a toll.
But strangely, this whole ordeal seems to, solidify her professionally. The source says she turns down a really cushy job offer after this.
And moves into bigger offices, hires 2 lawyers.
And get this, Dan Martin and Ted Harris, both used to work for De Silva.
Wow, that's a statement, isn't it? Forming Jennifer Parker and Associates.
She's really building something now, taking on a wider range of cases. She definitely came out stronger.
So, professionally, she's on the rise. But the source material also dives deep into her personal life, especially her relationship with Adam Warner.
Yeah, it's portrayed as this incredibly intense whirlwind romance. They're dating, then he's basically living with her, finds her this new apartment. That scene at the Plaza Hotel where she says, "I'm lost." The source frames that as her being completely swept away by him.
And it's all tied up with his career, right? He's running for president. People are comparing him to JFK.
Exactly. They're talking about their future in the White House. The personal stakes are suddenly national. It's huge.
But just when things seem set, guess who reappears? Michael Moretti.
Whoa, yeah. He intercepts her outside court. The source mentions his electric vitality, but Jennifer's reaction is just anger. She wants him gone.
Then there's this weird interruption from a client, Rick Arlen. Pays her 10 grand cash, insists she fly to Monte Carlo for some party.
Jennifer's totally annoyed, thinks it's frivolous, but this trip, weirdly, leads directly to the implosion of her relationship with Adam.
How so?
She calls Adam from Monte Carlo, but his wife, Mary Beth, answers. And she's all warm, invites Jennifer to dinner when she gets back.
Oh no, I can see where this is going.
Right, Jennifer drives out to their place in Croton-on-Hudson, dreaming about her future with Adam, their kids.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking setup.
And then Mary Beth drops the bomb at dinner. She's pregnant, 7 months along.
Total devastation for Jennifer. And Mary Beth is cruel about it, rubs it in, calls herself Adam's wife, and Jennifer his whore. It's just brutal.
Leaving that house, Jennifer's reeling. But she comes up with this calculation.
Yeah, she convinces herself Mary Beth trapped Adam, and she decides to wait for the election results.
Because if Adam wins, he's stuck,
Yeah.
right? President can't have a divorce scandal with a new baby.
But if he loses, in her mind, he's free. Free for her and, as we learn later, their child.
Election night. Adam loses. And the source says Jennifer feels this bizarre sense of winning. Winning Adam, winning their son.
It's twisted logic born of pain. The breakup scene is awful. She tells Adam it's over because of Mary Beth, the baby. They both know they love each other, but it's impossible.
So she retreats, goes to a country house, gets an unlisted number. Ken Bailey helps her out, sworn to secrecy. She's completely alone while pregnant. Which brings us to Jennifer becoming a mother. The sources detail this with both the highs and the very real lows.
Joshua Adam Parker is born. Healthy baby boy, 8 pounds, 6 ounces. The source makes a point of saying he's beautiful, not like, wrinkly newborns sometimes are.
And the resemblance to Adam is uncanny. His eyes, the shape of his head. Jennifer sees Adam every time she looks at her son.
Which is both a joy and a constant source of pain, right? A reminder of what she lost.
Motherhood itself is shown as exhausting. Postpartum blues, The nonstop care, it's not romanticized.
No, it's real, but she's still running her law practice somehow. Thus she has to turn down big cases, like this corporate bribery one, just because she doesn't have the bandwidth as a single mom.
Then there's this unexpected callback to her pasting. Judge Lawrence Waldman invites her to dinner.
The same judge from the Wilson trial. They meet at this exclusive place, the Century Association Club.
But even there, in that high-powered setting, her mind keeps going back to Joshua. It shows how fundamentally her priorities have shifted.
We also get another run-in with Michael Moretti. He spots her in a crowded restaurant, gets her a table. There's this intensity about him.
Yeah, the source mentions his silent intensity. And he says that weird thing about hating dogs because they die. What is that even about?
Who knows? It just adds to his unsettling vibe. He takes charge, orders for her. She relaxes a bit, but the source reveals he's thinking possessively about her, doesn't want her to leave. That connection, however fraught, is still simmering.
Meanwhile, Adam's in the public eye. He's heading that Senate Committee on Organized Crime, getting stuff done, leading to prison reforms.
And Jennifer sees this photo in Cosmo, Adam, Mary Beth, and their daughter, Samantha, who looks just like Mary Beth.
Ouch. And again, she sees Joshua in Adam's face in the photo. The source says Adam is still an open wound years later.
Time passes. Joshua grows up, becomes her little buddy, learning songs, starting nursery school. He looks more and more like Adam.
And he's got this strong sense of justice already. That line is great. I'm only 4 feet tall, but I've got my rights.
It's sweet. A moment of light, really, before things take a truly terrifying dive. Yeah, things get incredibly dark when this inmate, Jack Scanlon, asks to see her.
His appearance is striking, right? The source describes him as looking almost like Christ. Thin, blonde beard, soft voice. Seems like he's in agony.
He confesses he kidnapped a child, but he insists he didn't send a ransom note, wouldn't hurt the kid.
And he tells Jennifer this tragic backstory, abusive dad, running away, marrying a woman named Evelyn, losing her and their baby in childbirth. Says it made him question God.
Jennifer buys it. She's moved, determined to save this seemingly broken man from execution.
And then the floor drops out. Total gut punch. Earl Osborne from the FBI shows up.
And reveals Scanlon isn't Scanlon, he's Frank Jackson, a psychopathic liar.
The FBI file is horrifying. Pimping, arson, robbery, prison time. And worse. Much worse.
5 years earlier, he kidnapped another child, a 3-year-old girl. Her body was found months later, raped, sodomized, covered in small knife cuts. Just sickening.
De Silva's there, hears this, and he's so horrified he just walks out, tells Jennifer to read the papers. He can't even deal with it.
But the real terror hasn't even started. Frank Jackson calls Jennifer directly.
And he knows about Joshua, says that absolutely bone-chilling line. He's a beautiful boy, isn't he?
He threatens to kill Joshua at 3 a.m., tells her explicitly, don't call the police.
Pure panic for Jennifer. She does this lightning-fast calculation in her head. Adam's too far away. The cops, De Silva, they'd be too slow, too caught up in procedure. Jackson would kill Joshua before they could act.
So in absolute desperation, she makes the call that changes everything. The call she probably swore she'd never make.
She calls Michael Moretti.
Tells him everything. The kidnapping, the threat, the possible location, the travel well motel. Michael immediately gets his guys moving.
And her request is just raw, primal fear. I want my son back alive.
Then she asks the question she has to ask, the awful question. If we find Jackson...
Her answer, kill him. Just like that. A mother's desperation overriding everything else.
Michael's silence on the line says it all. The deal is made. He tells her to wait by the phone. She's crossed a line there's no coming back from.
So that terrible bargain is struck.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael Moretti's operation just snaps into gear. Instantly.
He sends his top guys, Gino Gallo, Salvatore Fiore, Joseph Colella. But the source makes a point. Michael decides he needs to go himself. This is about Jennifer. It's personal for him, too, in his own twisted way.
And the search isn't like a police search. It's the underworld mobilizing. Word spreads like wildfire through bars, restaurants, newsstands, cabbies, truckers, street vendors.
Yeah, the message is clear. Michael Moretti wants this thin, blonde guy who looks like Jesus, and anyone who helps will be appreciated. It shows the incredible, if illicit, power he wields.
They get leads. A pawn ticket for a cross. Information from a hooker and her pimp obtained violently, the source notes. It's a glimpse into that brutal world.
And while they're searching, the source cuts to the motel room. It's horrifying. Jackson has Joshua drugged, tied up.
And he's preparing. Nails, a hammer, gasoline. He's planning to crucify the child and set him on fire. It's almost unimaginable evil.
Just then, Michael Moretti kicks the door in, sees Jackson kneeling there with the nails and the gas.
No hesitation. Michael shoots Jackson dead. On the spot.
He calls his doctor, Doc Patron. Then finally he calls Jennifer. 9:30 in the morning, he just says, "I'm bringing your son home."
Imagine hearing those words after that night. Joshua comes back, bandaged up. The doctor assures Jennifer he'll recover.
But this whole thing changes Jennifer fundamentally. Knowing Michael murdered someone, albeit a monster, to save her son, it creates this bond.
The source calls it a deep, primordial feeling.
And their physical encounter afterwards is described almost like she's his captive now, in a way, a slave. Her life is irrevocably altered. She saved her son, but the cost is immense, tangled up with her feelings for Adam.
And saving Joshua means Jennifer is now indebted to Michael, pulled deeper into his world whether she likes it or not.
He doesn't waste time calling in the debt. They have lunch and he's blunt, says he's wanted her for ages, even admits he tried to ruin her before. But now, he says, don't play games with me. The dynamic has totally shifted.
And then he drops the payment. He wants her to represent Vasco Gambuti, one of his guys accused of killing a cop.
Jennifer is stunned. The source says it felt like he had slapped her. But she agrees. Just this one favor, she tells herself. But it's a slippery slope.
This decision costs her dearly. Ken Bailey finds out, and he is furious. Absolutely livid.
Calls Michael a sewer, a mafia hitman. Accuses Jennifer of bringing that filth into their office, making them work for thugs.
Jennifer tries to defend herself, but the source says even she knows her words sound hollow.
Ken leaves. He's heartbroken, tells her Michael has wrapped her up, says goodbye to Joshua. That loss of her ethical anchor, her friend, is huge for Jennifer.
At the same time, Adam Warner's investigation is heating up. His Senate committee is working with the FBI, DEA, everyone. They're digging into murder, racketeering, drugs, the whole 9 yards.
And they get their big break. The source reveals the informant, the traitor inside the organization, is Thomas Colfax.
The defense lawyer from the very beginning. The one De Silva was worried about.
Yep. He gave the authorities the key to dismantle everything. Leads to massive arrests across the country, hitting multiple crime families. Colfax is apparently safe somewhere, being protected, living well. The irony.
Adam's political star rises even higher because of this success. Makes his presidential run look even stronger. But he knows Jennifer is tangled up with Moretti now. He feels this moral crisis. Tries to warn her somehow.
Mary Beth knows, too. She knows Jennifer's name is floating around the investigation. The danger is real. Michael Moretti is raging about the raids. He knows there's a traitor. Then Nick Vito tells him he saw Jennifer with Adam Warner in Acapulco.
Oh boy, bad timing. Michael checks it out, confirms Adam was her boyfriend.
Michael jumps to the wrong conclusion. He thinks Jennifer's the traitor, thinks she conspired with Adam against him while representing his people. He explodes in this violent rage.
And in that rage, he makes a fatal mistake. He orders Nick Vito to kill Fiore and Colella, his own loyal guys, because he mistakenly thinks they are the traitors working with Jennifer.
Only later does he realize Colfax is alive. Colfax is the real traitor. He feels completely outsmarted, realizing he killed his own men based on a false assumption about Jennifer. It's a devastating blow, self-inflicted.
Nick Vito is now in an impossible position. He knows Colfax is the traitor he failed to kill. He knows Michael will kill him for that failure and for the Fiore-Colella mistake.
So, despite his loyalty to Fiore and Colella, he decides to save himself. He calls Captain Tanner, offers to inform on Michael.
But Tanner gets picked up by internal security almost immediately. The whole system is closing in.
Adam gives this speech in Acapulco, talks about lawyers who subvert justice. It sounds like he's aiming it right at Jennifer, a public warning.
He tries to talk to her afterwards. About us, he says. But she shuts him down. There is no us. It's their last real interaction described here. Painful.
And there's that powerful moment with Joshua water skiing. He falls near pilings. Jennifer panics. And she has this crystal clear thought. She would die for Joshua. She would kill for him. And then the kicker. She realizes she had killed for him with the hand of Michael Moretti. It explicitly links her bargain to its violent consequence. After all that intensity, the sources shift location. Jennifer is in Southeast Asia, Singapore specifically.
She's working on a case there, representing a guy named Stefan Bjork, who's in prison. She's working with the local official, Inspector 2.
Inspector 2 gives her this really interesting, kind of cynical tour, shows her a crocodile farm, very practical, skin and meat.
And then he takes her to Kelling Road, which is the city's red light district, basically.
Yeah.
Prostitution, drugs, gambling.
And 2 calls it the city's sewer. But his take is fascinating. He says it's like a necessary boil. It contains all the ugliness in one place, which keeps the rest of Singapore clean.
His advice to Jennifer: don't judge it. It's a very pragmatic, almost amoral way of looking at social order, a far cry from idealistic justice.
Meanwhile, back home, Michael Moretti's empire is collapsing. The raids are ongoing. Finally, FBI agents show up with a warrant for his arrest. He tries to arrange bail, but things are falling apart.
And Nick Vito makes his move. He calls Captain Tanner, sells out Michael for money and protection. He knows he's doomed otherwise.
But like we said, Tanner gets intercepted immediately. The call gets cut off.
Michael hangs up the phone,
Mm-hmm.
and in that moment, he knows. He knows Nick Vito lied. Colfax is alive. Colfax is the traitor. He knows he killed Fiore and Colella for nothing. The source describes his feeling as icy rage. He's been utterly played.
And Colfax, the sources suggest he's safe. Maybe Brazil, maybe some protected fort, hiding his money, living it up. The ultimate survivor, the traitor who walks away clean. The net finally closes on Jennifer. She lands at JFK Airport. FBI agents are waiting. Extradition warrant. She's taken to Rikers Island. Detention cell 3.
She gets one phone call. And after everything, she calls Michael Moretti. It shows just how deeply entangled they've become.
Michael finds out she's at Rikers. His immediate reaction is, I'll get her sprum. But then he reveals his own desperate, chilling plan to Gino Gallo.
What is it?
He says Adam Warner is going to have an accident today. At the New Canaan Bridge, on his way to give a speech, Michael is going after Adam, likely blaming him through Jennifer for his downfall.
Oh my God. The danger loops right back to Adam. And meanwhile, De Silva, the guy who started this whole mess for Jennifer, is fighting her bail application, still trying to take her down.
Jennifer's story, as documented in these excerpts, ends right there, in that cell. She feels utterly alone. The source lists them. Joshua was gone, Adam was gone, Michael was gone, she was alone.
And in that total isolation, she finds this weird sense of peace. Thinks it would be easy to just die. It's a really bleak, devastating end to her journey in this material. The sources we looked at wrap up with a kind of epilogue, quick snapshots of where some other characters end up.
Yeah, first we see Adam Warner. He's being sworn in as the 40th president, so clearly the accident Michael planned didn't happen, though we don't get the details of how he avoided it. He's there with Mary Beth, who's pregnant again, and their daughter Samantha, the picture of American success and values.
Then there's Lexi Templeton's wedding. She's described as American royalty, head of a big company, seems happy, successful. The president sends regrets via telegram.
But there's a little poignant note she's missing someone at the wedding, implied to be her brother Max. A reminder that even in success, there can be unresolved losses.
Finally, we get a glimpse of Grace Brookstein's trial. She's accused of fraud linked to her husband's crimes. It's a media circus.
The prosecutor, Angela Mikel, is portrayed as righteous, convinced she knew everything and didn't care.
Her defense lawyer is this character called Big Frank Hammond. Short guy, but a brilliant, maybe slippery jury manipulator. Her great white hope.
We hear Michelle's closing argument, and then we get Grace's thought. She finds him eloquent, wonders if they could have been friends. It's a complex human moment. But the source doesn't tell us how her trial ends.
So what a journey we've traced here. Jennifer Parker's trajectory is just incredible, thrown out of the system, clawing her way back, making that impossible choice to save her son, getting dragged into the depths of organized crime, and ending up isolated, arrested.
Yeah, we saw her life intertwine with these incredibly powerful men in law like De Silva and Adam Warner, in crime like Michael Moretti, and in politics, again with Adam.
This deep dive, pulling from these sources, really highlighted how those personal choices, taking the envelope, making the call to Moretti, have these massive, unforeseen consequences when mixed with professional ethics and incredibly dangerous situations.
Absolutely. The real insights aren't just the plot points, but the moments that make you go, aha, that seemingly small instruction about the envelope, the moral struggle over the Wilson case, the horrifying truth about Frank Jackson that forces Jennifer's hand, the sheer ruthlessness and reach of Moretti's world, Michael's fatal miscalculation about betrayal, Colfax getting away with it, that cynical view of order in Singapore, and Jennifer's final, devastating isolation.
It really shows how lives that seem worlds apart can get tangled together in really dangerous ways, doesn't it? Especially when the stakes are so incredibly high.
Which leaves us and you with something to think about based on everything we've unpacked from these excerpts. In a reality where justice isn't always just, where right and wrong get incredibly blurred, and where survival is on the line, what compromises do people make? And maybe more importantly, what's the true human price they pay for those choices in the end?